Jim Carroll from the virtual broadcast studio. I haven't been down here in a while. I took a bit of a break from it because I was getting back to real stages, and it's summertime and golf season and working away and things. But I'm going to be spending more time down here because I kind of miss the studio and kind of miss getting my stories out there. So some folks were asking me this morning about my post about innovating in a recession. And one person asked, you seem to be talking about this quite a bit. If you saw the post this morning, it was all about, it's impossible to align yourself to the future if you're going to let pessimism be at the center of your existence. And they sort of asked, like, why are you talking about this so much? Well, here's why, because my clients are asking for it. And let me give you an example of what's going on. I'm going to be in Zurich, actually flying to Zurich, Switzerland 2 weeks from today. I'm going to be in Lucerne, about an hour outside of Zurich. And this is for a big global insurance company. Try and guess who it is. And who I'm going to have in the room are the senior executive risk managers for a vast range of global Fortune 500 organizations. And they brought me in to talk about a couple of things, to talk about how do we innovate through a recession? What have we learned in the past about what organizations have done to innovate in times of economic volatility? Now, I spent a huge amount of time talking about this after the 2001 downturn, and I actually spent a whole bunch of time talking about this from late 2008, probably all the way up to about 2014. And I've got a whole stack of research on my desk right now where I'm pulling together a whole variety of really wonderful stories on organizations, executives, leadership groups, and what they did during previous periods of economic volatility. And I mean, there's no doubt we're going to have a global economic downturn. We're probably in the middle of it right now. There's going to be a recession. It's going to be somewhat ugly because economies have been overheated, and we've got a lot of uncertainty with Ukraine and war and nuclear and supply chain and all these things going on. We're going to have a recession, and the choice that organizations need to make right now is don't take part in it. History has taught us that that is a valid strategy for going forward, and that's what I'm actually going to be talking about when I'm over in Lucerne, Switzerland. In just over a couple of weeks. I'll be focusing on what history has taught us, what organizations have learned. And that's what I wrote into my post today. It's not only that, organizations are looking for, and they're looking, for example, in this keynote, what have we learned post-COVID? We've been through this remarkable period of time. We've been through this massive global change for 2 years. What have we learned as a result of COVID? How have organizations changed? So I'm going to be working that in there as well. So if you saw my post this morning, it featured a video, and I'm going to play that video for you in a moment. This was from a keynote I gave on stage in London, England, just over a week ago. Let me put some context on it. I had about 500 dentists in the room, and I talk about this in my daily inspiration post this morning. These folks are feeling battered and bruised by the economy. There's a lot of uncertainty going on in Britain right now. There's a lot of challenges that are underway. Dentists have had a rough ride. They've seen their business cut in half. And now they have a new Labour government, which is, quite uncertain as to what they're going to do to try to pull Britain out of the recession. Patients are doing self-medical tourism. Here's a fun fact. 1 out of 5 patients admitted during COVID to doing their own dental care, including pulling out their own teeth. If you're a dentist right now, it's a challenging time to be in business. And part of the story I told on stage is that if we're looking at this period of forthcoming economic volatility, you can fall prey to that, and you can just forget about the future, and you can become depressed and overwhelmed by the downturn. Don't do that. And this is the story I told on stage. So this clip is about 6 minutes long. I'm going to share it with you here, just so you get a little bit of a sense as to what people are doing to really align themselves to the future and not participate in the recession. And I think that's what you need to be thinking about right now. That's what I'm going to be concentrating on over in Switzerland in just over 2 weeks. And I'm finding a lot of organizations are seeking this type of insight right now because, hey, the future's going to happen, recession or not. What are you going to do right now to make sure that you turn all the opportunities around you into opportunities and don't lose sight of them? So here goes. Let's play this video.
It's horrifying to think about the impact of what COVID has done and the impact of a potential economic downturn. And the thing that can happen here is you can turn yourself into a ball of negativity when it comes to the future. And I've seen this so many times. And I think what is critical right now is the mindset that we adopt when it comes to the future. 2 weeks ago, I was down in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. speaking to a conference about the construction of housing for the homeless. And I was telling them a story about the last time I went to Iowa during an economic downturn. I was actually going to see Rockwell Collins, a global aerospace firm. And I was talking about the future of aerospace, future of jet engines, future of air travel, stuff like that. But I remember driving there, and it's March 2009. I've got the radio on. You ever see one of these disaster TV shows where you've got, the world's worst airplane disasters, and you have this guy with this really deep voice, is doing the narration. Flight 103 was leaving. It's this really terrifying doom, voice of doom. My son used to play this for me when I used to travel somewhere. Here, Dad, watch this. I'm about to fly away. Willie, that's not the time to show that show. This guy is on the radio in Iowa, and he's talking about this book called The Ultimate Depression Survival Guide. And it's March 2009. He's going, we're in the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. There's no upside. You should be buying gold, run for the hills, stock up your food at home. And I was thinking, really? Is this the way we're going to think about the future? Is this the way you are thinking about your practice right now? Do you view economic volatility as a threat, or are you viewing this as a time right now to double down on innovation, creativity, and everything that Align Tech has just shown you in terms of opportunity in the future to get ready for the inevitable upturn? Bill Gates once said that most people tend to overestimate the rate of change that will occur on a 2-year basis. We underestimate how much change will occur on a 10-year basis. The world of dentistry is going to be fundamentally transformed in the next 10 years. But the majority of you think it's going to take more than 2 years for the economic downturn to reverse itself. Well, let me share with you some headlines that occur when we have a recession. Headlines such as the American banks face a financial meltdown if the reforms aren't met. There's a mortgage meltdown underway. The money managers are beaten and stirred, and there's a market cap meltdown. And billions in dollars of blue chip value has been blown away, and Congress is caught in a bind. And there's this crisis glooming. And this is the type of stuff that we are reading each and every day. You're waking up and reading the newspaper every day, and the new prime minister has reduced taxes, and should this be happening? What's the impact of a recession on the UK? When these headlines first appeared, when I shared this with the audience at Rockwell Collins in 2009, these headlines appeared in December 1990, 1989. I think what happens in an economic downturn, they've heard about the importance of recycling. They simply recycle the headlines from the last recession. The point of this is my 6th economic downturn in my career. If I'm lucky, I still have 1, 2, or 3 to go. It's what we do right now to realign ourselves to the future that determines our success. A fellow at General Electric studied what happened with global organizations when we had previous periods of economic decline. He looked at what happened in the oil shock of the 70s and the downturn of the 80s, what happened with the 90s, what happened during the recession in 2000, 2001 with the dot-com bust. And what he found was that the approach that people and organizations and leaders took to the downturn determined their fate. 60% sort of muddled their way through. I'm not going to do anything big and bold. I'm just going to go into a waiting pattern. I'm going to wait until there's signs of economic clarity. 30% didn't make it. But 10% became breakthrough performers because they specifically decided right now is the time to double down on innovation. You are hearing a magical story today of the opportunities, the technologies, the methodologies, the materials, the concepts, the digitization aspects, which are coming to you, which will help you accelerate your practice. Are you going to wait? Or are you going to do what history has taught us? And what history has taught us is that those who innovate, those who double down on innovation, despite uncertainty, are those who win. Now, I shared this story on stage from 2008 to 2013 with organizations around the world. And I can look at my clients and I can see those who doubled down on innovation. And they were the ones who rode the largest economic boom that came through until last year. You have a choice right now. Are you going to let this economic volatility cloud your decisions? Are you going to let it hold you back from pursuing the future? Because we know inevitably we're going to see that headline about an economic upturn. Let me put it another way. I was on stage right after Lehman Brothers went down. Remember 2008, the day the market crashed? And I was on stage after the CEO of this organization, Compass Food Group. And the CEO said, look, we've got three choices. Number one, we can panic. Number two, we can do nothing. Or number three, we can choose to innovate, change, and adapt. And his message to his team is we are each going to go find our top 10, 20 clients, and we're going to focus on them, and we're going to say, what are we going to do to help you through this period of economic uncertainty? What are you going to do with your most loyal patients right now? With new methodologies coming at you, with new opportunities, new things to provide them restorative opportunities that they can now pursue because we are in a post-COVID world. What are you going to do to double down in the future? Because history has taught us, I always like this quote, it's impossible to succeed at economic development and be a pessimist. It's impossible to align yourself to the future if you're going to let pessimism be at the core of your existence.
So there you go. That's what today's post was all about. Some stuff from the UK, some stuff related to what I'm doing in Zurich, Switzerland, outside Zurich in 2 weeks, and all about innovating in recession, post-COVID recovery, all that type of stuff. So a little bit of context on what I'm writing and thinking about and what the clients are looking for. So stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more of this content to come. Oh, and I joined TikTok today. Guess what? I'm going to be TikToking. More of that tomorrow. Over and out, futurist Jim Carroll from the virtual broadcast studio.